Good morning. I'm up at Silver Hill Wood this morning. 3.5 mile cycle so far. Not far. Not intending to break any records. This is for me. However, I am going to do my press up challenge out here because it's quite beautiful. The pond over there. In fact, before I do this, I'm just going to take you down a little bit to the water, closer to the water's edge, because the water is so crystal clear. It is unbelievable. Have a look. I hope you can see in there. Absolutely crystal clear. You can see all the oxygenating plants in the bottom. I don't know where all the waterfowl are. Yes, I do. Family of geese that I call margeese are over there. You can't see them because I'm not pointing the camera that way, because I think they're too far away to be picked up by this camera. But they will be here directly now. Today's challenge is day 10 of the 25. 25 press ups, 25 days to raise awareness for mental health, depression, anxiety, PTSD. Now today I'm going to do this from a table because I'm feeling that way inclined. Back in a bit. Five press ups. That was day 10. Next nominee will be notified. Pestered, ridiculed and vilified. I'm only joking. It's a great thing that you do, that we're doing, raising awareness for the issues of mental health. Not enough people care. Not enough people know. I've talked about awareness many times. Being aware. I talked yesterday, although I didn't record it, about time. I didn't talk about time. What am I talking about? I talked about grief. Grief I talked about. But it didn't record, so it's irrelevant. And I was going to do it again today, but I'm no good at repeating stuff from yesterday. I wouldn't remember what it was that I'd said. It's not spontaneous, it's not real. So it's time today. Now I've walked over a little bit so we can catch a sight of the swan, the family of geese, them coots. There's a big old family of ducks over there, over that side. Let's see if you can see them like that. Right. Good morning, creatures. How are you doing today? I've watched those goslings grow from tiny little grey fluff balls, the ugly ducklings from the song. Now look at them. Magnificent creatures they are. They're not pestered by time. They don't have to get to work or whatever. So time, yes. And it does link in with sort of what I talked about yesterday. Because when your relatives pass, that's what I was talking about yesterday with grief and relatives. When they pass, traditionally there was a time of mourning. A time where, back in the Victorian times, a widow, when her husband died, would wear the black widow's weaves, her cloth in black, for a year and a day, to mourn the passing, to spend that time. And there's a difference between mourning and grief. Mourning is a healing process. A time that you spend remembering, honouring, being grateful for the time you had together. But grief has no time limit. Grief doesn't end. Now, when my old mum died, when her time was up, we got told she's got the cancer and she's going. I'd made her promises a long time before, because my mum had MS. She was in a wheelchair the last years of her life. And I made her a promise as a firstborn son: you will die at home, you will not die in an hospital bed. Cancer had other ideas. Cut a longer story short in that direction. She went into hospital after a fall. Coop. And they told her she didn't have time. She wasn't well enough. They weren't going to release her. They weren't going to allow her to go home. We'd run out of time. You might think that's a really bad thing. If you've never lost anybody to the cancer, you probably do think it's the worst thing that could happen. But let me tell you, the time that we had towards the end was a massive healing. Massive healing. A time of coming together. A time of sorting a few things out. A time where one of my brothers had to get a bit of justice done to him, but that's by the by. Time. We had time to put things right, to settle scores, to make my apologies to my mum, because I had a lot to apologise for. I was a bit of a turd of a son, to be honest. My mum had her problems, and she apologised to me for those. We had the time. So, it wasn't like getting run over by a bus, was it? Or like our the other granddad, Ricky, just had an heart attack in his work van, and that was him gone, no time. It was 5 minutes from home, 5 minutes of time from home, where his lady would have been there to nurse him out of this world. But he wasn't alone, although that sounds like a really bad thing, and it was. He wasn't alone. There was a random cyclist that came along. For the life of me, I can't remember his name right now, but I have been in touch with him on Facebook, and thanked him personally, because it's like a midwife at the other end of your life. I was there with my mum on her last breaths on this earth, and there's something of you can take a bit of honour, a bit of pride in the fact that you were there, like midwifing somebody out of this life. I've met a few people that do that as a job, really, counsellors and that deal with families' grief. And they spend that time, and it is quality time. It's a wonderful thing that they do. It might sound morbid. If you're not understanding what I'm saying, it will sound morbid. But if you do understand, it can be a beautiful thing. So we had the time with my mum. We had time to put things right. And if any of you are in that position, do what's needed. Do what's right. My mum was a Catholic. I won't say a practicing Catholic. She was one of those millions of Catholics that are so good at it, they don't need to go to church anymore. I'm being sarcastic. But she did used to practice and pray and do a rosary and rub statues of the Virgin Mary. It was her thing. That was her thing. So when it come time that the oncologist said she's running out of road, her days are nearly up, I went and got a priest. He was in the hospital. I went and sought out a priest. I said, do you do last rites? Yes, they do. And he come up. And what he said to me was, well, he said a lot of things that didn't make any sense. But one thing that he said to me that stuck with me and will stick with me the rest of my days, he said what he does as a priest doing the last rites, is pack the person's bag for the journey. It wasn't talking about an end. There's nothing to have grief about. It wasn't an end. It was a transition, a journey. My mum would be going to the next place. Now whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. Whether when I'm praying, I'm talking to an imaginary friend, I don't know. It gives me a great deal of comfort, and it gives a lot of other people a great deal of comfort. And the time that I have spent in prayer, in contemplation, in meditating my place in the world, thinking about something greater than me, which I call God, which churches have successfully, over centuries, turned into something else to beat down the masses with, and they have, turned into things that they can start wars with, and they have. Behind all that, there is something real, in my opinion, and I'm not about to be giving that up. I've been through too much to make me, that's convinced me in my soul. Not talking about books, not talking about brainwashing. But the time that I have spent, hello Mr. Swan, let's spend a bit of time just saying hello to Mr. Swan, eh? Hello, how you doing? Now is this wasted time, eh? I suggest that this is not wasted time. I suggest this is quality time. Hello. How gorgeous is this, eh? So, getting off the subject of grief and death and mourning, and back to time, plenty of people are saying, what do you want to waste your time on that bicycle for? Just take a look around you. Take a look around you. What sort of a misery guts would I be, and have I been, through not spending the time to do this? So take your time, folks. Spend your time well. I haven't always, but I ain't gone yet. And where there's life, there's hope. And even if you live 364 days miserable, and one day on top of the mountain, happy, content, trust me, that one day you'll remember forever. You don't really remember the details of being miserable, the details when the depression's got you. You just look back, crows up there. You just look back and remember that there was lots of dark clouds. Like yesterday morning, I just got all my gear on, ready to go out the door for my cycle ride, and it started raining. Nightmare. Nightmare. And I had a bit of a meltdown. I was a bit upset. I was very upset. My dear wife went out without me because I was upset and getting cross at the weather. And then I come out, did my video. You won't see it because I forgot to push record or didn't have the chip in, whatever it was. But I felt so happy, so content, so part of the world. I was at Brierley Forest yesterday. Fishing ponds there. I filmed some herons that you can't see because it didn't record. 2 herons on that pond. Spent my time, I think, wisely. Had a busy day as it turned out yesterday. Very together. So there's my thing. That's me done. I've done my press-ups. I've spoken to you lovely people. I've greeted the day. It's only just gone 6 now, I think. I left the house about 5:30. I couldn't sleep. And seeing as it's summer, and I'm witnessing, since I've got here, look, that's come up now, that sun, over them trees, since I've been talking, in that 10 or 15 minutes, whatever it is. So I'm going to get on with my day. Things to do, ways to spend my time. Please, everyone, have a great day. Spend time with somebody you love. In person, preferably. On the phone, if not. FaceTime, email, a Facebook message. Write it down on a bit of paper, I've said this before, snail mail. Whatever it takes, waste everybody's time. Spend it wisely. I hope you all have a gorgeous day. Be beautiful. I love you all. Ta-da.